All right, purpose of today's video is assembly of Briggs and Stratton 1150. The purpose of this is for CDEs of small engines. Again, this is for the 1150 series, other series. There's going to be a few different parts. What we're going to start with is layout for the contest. Time is everything. So engine block, crankcase is fully disassembled. All bolts, screws, anything that is threaded needs to be in a pile. The judge will mix them up to be comfortable knowing which screw, which bolt goes where. But then we're going to have it all laid out in the order we're going to put it back in. Some of these are not exact order, especially towards the end. You can choose whatever way you want, but I'm going to show you the way that we're going to do it. We're at Bridge High School, and I'm working with a phone, so I don't have professional video equipment, so bear with me. Here we go. All right, step one, crankcase. So we're going to have all of our parts and tools lined up. We're going to put this shim in front because it's easily forgotten, but we're going to start with our crankshaft. Again, bolts, screws, anything threaded needs to be in a pile mixed up. Get very familiar with them. We have our 1/4 inch drive with the 5/16. This is set to 100 inch-pounds. Yankee for a 10. Also a 10 nut driver just to finish them off and tighten them. We have a rubber mallet that's going to help us tap in our cover. And we're going to use the end to drop our piston. We're going to have our tappets, our cam, cap, timing gear. So let's get this together. First step is going to be crankshaft. You have a smooth side, and then you have your small threaded side. This is where our flywheel goes. So this end goes first. All right. Make sure you set this about 7 o'clock. That way our connecting rod doesn't get jammed. If we have it set right here, our piston won't drop and rings will be exposed. So we're going to make sure we turn this to about 7 o'clock. That way the connecting rod has space to drop in freely. CDE allows you to have your, whatever you use for your piston compression tool, to have it preset. You don't have to do it on site. Biggest thing is on the inside, there is an arrow. On the test says it needs to point towards the magneto, but we're going to have it pointed towards where the carburetor would sit. And if it's not perfectly centered, once you have it on your crankshaft, it'll center itself. But just make sure that arrow is pointing some way towards where the carb would be, which will be on this side. So arrow goes on this side. We're going to make sure also our head gasket's not on. If your head gasket's in the way, it can give you some fits sometime. Make sure you hit it with some force. You don't want it to go halfway and get stuck. All right, so we're gonna just spin this until our connecting rod fits. Then you're gonna wanna lean it up so you have space to work with. All right, on our rod cap, some of them have match marks with some arrows. It only goes one way, but we're gonna just make sure that the oil dipper, the oil slinger is in the down position. There is a specialty tool for this to make this quicker, but for today, I'm gonna just do it very primitively. So again, get it at the position where you can reach your hand in there. And I'm gonna just hand thread these. All right, after you got it hand tight, I'm gonna set it back down just so you can see. This is where we take our 1/4 inch drive and tighten it to 100 inch-pounds. Use the 1/4 because it's smaller. You can get in there. You're gonna feel that small click. All right, rotate it to get it Where you have space, be second one. Same thing, small click. So I'm done with this. This is the only time I use my 1/4" drive, so I'm gonna put this off of the table, get it out of the way, so we don't get confused on which tool is what. So next we're gonna go ahead and put in our tappets. So that's just underneath your connecting rod. There's 2 of them, and they just hopefully sit in place. Timing gear, for this one, it's a small diamond. We're gonna make sure we have it set at an orientation where we could time it up with our cam gear. It is keyed. There's a keyway, so make sure you have it set on your keyway for your crankshaft. All right, so again, our cam is gonna go right here. So we gotta make sure our diamond is not way on the other side or in a spot where we can't time it. So make sure you just turn it in a spot where we can time it efficiently. That small square is where the diamond meets. All right, I'm actually one off. There we go. All right, keep this shim in front, easily forgotten. It's really not that important, especially when we're running the engines for 1 minute. But it's good to keep in front to remind you to put it on before we close this up. So you crank for your governor. Make sure it's set back. It can give you some trouble if it's cocked all the way forward. Set it back. Again, I'm doing this with the phone in one hand, so it's not going to be too pretty sometimes. If your case doesn't go on well, you can tap on it with the hammer, but we found sometimes just turning the crankshaft gets it in place. Still not good. All right. Keep it leaned up, especially for the bottom. The bottom 2 are kind of hard. Again, your bolts are mixed up. Get them familiar. There's 6. They're all the same size. You can organize them before. I mean, when the judge says go, you can start by organizing, or you can just be familiar with them and find them easily. So our Yankee driver is not the best. It's good at getting them going, but we still have to use our nut driver to finish them off. But it's really good for these long bolts, just speed up the process. Okay, just like a car tire, just try to go in a star pattern as best you can. You do not need a torque. All right, that's our crankcase. All right, so next we're gonna assemble the head and everything that goes with it, all the valves and setting the valves, torquing the head, valve cap. So notice when I set this up, I have it kind of set in a weave pattern the way that we're gonna assemble it, just making the most of my space. So when we start, make sure you have your head gasket on. It only goes one way. If you'd flip it or 180, it would still fit, but you wouldn't be able to put your bolts on. All those holes would be covered. So just make sure you put it in the right way. So on our valves, I lined it up the way we're gonna grab it. It does matter, our intake is bigger than our exhaust valve, and you can simply tell by the color, but also the size difference, the intake's a little bit larger. So intake is gonna be on the one on the right. It's by your intake, by your carb, and your exhaust is on the left by your exhaust on your muffler. It doesn't matter which order you put them in, just make sure they're in the right space. All right, you should be able to tell this one's larger. We'll start with intake. We will hold on the back side to make sure it doesn't move. I'm gonna start with your spring retainer. It just slides over your valve stem. Then your spring. All right, and then we have our valve retainer. I'm sure some of them are different. The way this is gonna go, again, you have to hold back. You're gonna start on the top, in the larger portion. You're gonna push down until you pass up the end of the stem and then up. And it's gonna help it lock in place. All right, so exhaust is the exact same. Spring, retainer, followed by your spring. All right. Keep it on the top. It's a larger hole. Push down and then up, and it locks in place. All right, then you got your caps. Now we're ready to put the head on and torque it. All right, you got 2 dowels. That just helps you center it. Very simple. Again, make sure your head gasket is on. These bolts are easy, or these screws, whatever you want to call them. It's the 4 longest ones. There's 4 of these. Again, Yankee driver is great, just for speeding it up. A lot of threads. Again, it doesn't matter where you start, just make sure wherever you do start, you're gonna crisscross pattern after that. 210 inch-pounds, you're gonna feel that slight click. There it goes. Okay. There it is. I'm done with my 3/8 drive torque wrench, so I'll put it underneath the table, get it out of my way. We can take our push rods now. We're going to put them in the windows. Just make sure you feel that it's in the cups of the tappets. And then try to turn it till they're even. All right, so last year at District, they let us have the valve set when we put the head on. Then we got to area, they said take them all off. And they also made us back out our set screw. So we're gonna just prepare for the worst, and we're gonna practice like this always. Rocker arms are the same size. Just make sure the little cup is at the bottom. That cup sits on our push rod. So again, it's not like our valve where it matters which rocker arm goes where. Just make sure that the cup is at the bottom. All right, and then we're gonna take our acorn nuts and we're just gonna tighten them enough to have some slight tension on them to where we could actually see the valves moving when we are trying to set them. All right, again, these are not set. We're gonna have to do so. All right, you gotta learn this anyway. We're gonna rotate, and like I said at the beginning, there are special tools, special jigs to make some of these jobs easier. This is just to show you the order of the way it goes. But anyway, here we go. So far, remember the order of your strokes. You gotta make sure this is turning clockwise. And you can watch your valves move. All right, so that's our exhaust valve. That's the last stroke. After that should be our intake. You can see that intake valve moving. Compression and power, you can't see based on the valve movement, but we can tell by placing our welding rod inside. You can feel the movement of the piston. But anyway, again, here's your exhaust stroke. All right, once you see your intake stroke open up and then go back to close, we know that we're working with the compression stroke. So we're going to use our welding rod. We got our 2 marks. The first mark is for top dead center. The second mark is a 1/4 inch past that. And that's what we're going to use. And that's where we set our valves, a 1/4 inch past top dead center of the compression stroke. You can use a screwdriver, but if you do use the welding rod, make sure your flux is broken off. So after that intake stroke, we should feel that piston coming back up. All right, you just slowly roll it, and I'm at top dead center. I can feel it, it's at the highest point, and then we're gonna just slowly roll it a 1/4 inch past that. And that's where manual says you should set it 1/4 inch past top dead center on the compression stroke. So tools for this, we're gonna have our feeler gauges. So we have ours pre-marked. We only have 3. We got our 30 thousandths for the spark plug for troubleshooting, 5 thousandths for the intake. Put 5i, make it easy, and then we got our 9 thousandths for exhaust. So again, we're only gonna need 3. We're only gonna bring 3. 16 or 5/8 open end. And then for our set screw, it takes a hex. I just electric taped off the only one we need. Make it easy. So pretty easy. The hard part is just finding that 1/4 inch past top dead center. So if it's too tight, you loosen. If it's too loose, you tighten. We're gonna use our feeler gauge to find out where we need to be. All right, so again, doesn't matter which order you go, let's just start with intake. We need 5 thousandths. All right, so the feeler gauge, you should feel both sides, but there should be no play, and you also shouldn't have to jam it in there. You should just feel it grab on both sides, and we're good with that. So this part is very important. Do not move your 16. Keep it, we're gonna hold it in place, and then we're gonna set it with our hex key. Get it snug. Always double check. Good. Now exhaust, we're at 9 thousandths. Okay, so it's way too tight, so I'm gonna back off. And I'm gonna just move it back and forth until I can feel it. There we go. Again, don't move it. We're just gonna set it. Get it nice and snug. Good. All right, valves are set. So we can go ahead and put our cap on. Bolts, screws for this do matter. We need 1 long and 3 short. Finally, 1 long and 3 short. So I got 2 short, 1 long. There it is. All right, so this top one, make sure you have a short on it. If you put the long, it'll thread past and it'll block your muffler from going in. So we're gonna make sure that we got 3 short and 1 long. The way it comes when you get them shipped here, they put the long one on the bottom, so we're gonna keep it that way. Again, make sure your long one is not on top. So we just start at the top, grab a short one. Gonna go to the bottom. Very simple. Yankee's not necessary for this part, but there you go. All right, the head is completely done. We're gonna move on to the flywheel. All right, flywheel, probably the only part that takes some muscle to do. Very few parts. You got your cup, 15/16 nut, got your fins, actual flywheel. I just put the key on the magnet, easy to find. We made this is just to hold back on your crankshaft. And torque wrench is set to 55 foot-pounds. And this is a 1/2 inch drive, more leverage, easier. All right, so on the flywheel, the highest point is by your magnet. And then we're gonna match that with the lowest point on our cooling fins. They have some little dowels in there that help you line it up. All right, match up your keyway. And we're gonna use the shorter side, so it's a little taller this way, it won't fit. We're gonna make sure we use it on the shorter side. If you look close enough, you can see the Briggs and Stratton logo. Just make sure you can see that. It should be faced up. Push it flush. Oh. Take your cup. And that. Go. Sure you hear that click. Flywheel's done. Next will be armature. All right, armature, ignition coil, same thing. It's gonna sit here. You do have to have it properly gapped. You can use a feeler gauge, or you could just use a business card. It's about the same, close enough. Make sure your wires get passed through to go underneath your control plate first, because it's hard to, once your control plate's on, it's hard to pass them through. So just get that out of the way while you have space, room to work. Also, make sure your magnet's out of the way. It's tough to work with if you got your magnet. All right, just get them started so we can still move it. We'll slide our business card underneath both contactors. All right, make sure you're keeping a light pressure. Make sure the armature is actually touching the business card. Snug them up on both sides. That's it. All right, so next is going to be our cylinder guard. Notice I put my spark plug wrench on top just to remind me to put it. And then also notice how the table's getting cleaner. So as we go on, just let stuff out of the way, work to the end. And once I'm done with a certain tool, I just get it under the table, get it out of my way. Especially at the end, you're gonna be looking for stuff, getting nervous, hearing other teams' engines crank, just to help simplify the process. All right, so we got our spark plug, 5/8, and then we got our cylinder guard. So your ignition coil wire, your lead goes in that groove. You're also going to need a 7mm on the back side to tie it in. Okay, next is going to be our blower housing or shroud. Pay close attention. Every part has a reason. Our shroud or blower housing is going to sit on top, under, and on top again. It's 3 10mm bolts. And make sure it sits underneath the tab, kind of holds it in place on the cylinder guard. Get them started. Definitely should be using the Yankee driver on this part, but I'm not in the contest. All right. Done with this, under the table. All right, we're gonna put our control bracket on. Be very careful when you take it off. So, day of the contest, try your best to keep all your springs and arms in place, especially the throttle arm. It can be tough to put back on. Just make sure it's set properly before you start. All right, throttle arm rides here. As for our governor, it just pops down. We're not going to set our governor just yet. Just make sure your bolts can be fastened. Should be 4 of them for this engine. It's 4 of the 6 black bolts, black screws. Get them started. And that 4th one is hiding underneath. All right, so again, make sure if this nut and bolt slides around, it goes to the back. Sometimes they'll slide up to the front. Make sure it's in the back. Again, we're not going to set our governor just yet. I'm going to make sure my carb's hooked up first. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, almost forgot. Kill switch for this one is not actually a switch. This engine kills by contact. Once the throttle's all the way down, grounds out your armature. So just that wire we pass through. Goes in the spring metal. All right, so carburetor. Your spacer for the 1150 series, it only goes one way correctly. We put an arrow in ours for the classroom just for practice, but notice you can see letters, numbers, and on this side you can't. So the letters and numbers need to be on top to where you could see it, but they need to be backwards. All right, so we put an arrow for the classroom just to remember the direction of flow. It does matter. All right, so we could go ahead and put our two screws in with the spacer. It kind of helps us be somewhat hands-free with the spacer. Before we tighten it up, make sure we have our throttle on. Just kind of work with it. And then the small spring, most of the time goes well. If you're fighting with it, grab your pliers, put it in. T30 for this one. You can use a 10, but they're so rounded off, it kind of encourages cross threading. You chase a bunch of threads on these, so T30 works fine. Get it nice and snug. Okay, Mr. Luke. Governor. After we hooked up to our carb, we got to be in full throttle. All right, we're going to need a 3/16, which you could also just use a pair of pliers, tighten this up. But after, again, it's hooked up to the carb, full throttle, we're going to turn our 3/16, or just grab some pliers, and you're going to turn as far as you can counterclockwise. If it's not, the engine's going to run full throttle at all times, no matter how you set it. So again, make sure you have it turned as much as you can counterclockwise. It's not much of a turn, it's not even a quarter of a turn. So counterclockwise, and then you can take your 10, doing this with one hand, by the way. Just tighten it down. Now we have control of our throttle. All set. Easy to forget. All right, after the governor's set, muffler, muffler guard, T30 10. We got our two screws for our muffler, 4 screws for the muffler guard attachment, and then we got our 110 mil to attach your muffler guard to your control plate. This is really easy to do now that the gas tank's not in the way. Easily forgotten. But if you do forget it, add 4 minutes to the time. All right, and those 4 small screws are 7 mil. Right. All right, gas tank's next. All right, almost done. As you can see, we're getting less and less of a table, less and less screws. Gas tank is very simple, but just make sure, I double check here, that your governor's set. Because if it's not, Luke remembers, you got to take a bunch of stuff off to get back to it. So double check, because you will have to return. Probably the easiest screws to recognize in the whole bunch. Spin that engine around. Don't try to work from behind. Time is money on assembly. All right, for the remainder, only 3 more parts. This is all you're gonna need left is lineman's pliers and a 5/16 or 8 mil. The order really doesn't matter. You can do your trim or you can do your air filter. It's up to you. But another simple, easily forgotten thing, after you put your fuel line on, make sure your clamps down. It's either 2 or 4 minutes. All right, you can throw the pliers under. We got 1 tool left, 5/16 or 8 mil. This is about the time you hear the other team's engine start cranking. Start getting nervous, but it's easy. Breather hose goes in your valve cap. The air filter cover screws stay in that plastic. That won't be in the tray. Choke lever, make sure it works. All right, and then the end, some trim panel. 3 screws. All right, that's it, fully assembled. If you're ahead of the game, nobody else had started their engines yet, it'd be a good time to just check your exterior, all your screws. They will dock you time for it, just everything on the outside. Make sure we have no parts, no screws at all, add gas. That's it, good luck.